Hello and welcome to Blinkers Off. Great to be back for another show, and what a show we've got lined up for you over the course of the half an hour. We're going to preview the Queensland Cup, we're going to take a look at the AFL, NRL games as well. For our first time this season, we're going to show you a sire, the second season sire and Melbourne Cup winner, American, who stands down at Swettenham Stud at Nagambie, the place where Black Caviar was born. And I'm joined by my right, big-time footy coach Ben Perkins, my left, former analyst Grant Morgan, and our news reporter Lorena Tillman. Firstly, Ben, welcome.
Jesse, how are you?
Oh, mate, I'm really well, but I'll tell you one thing.
What's
Port
that?
Adelaide, you claim they were the specials.
Port Adelaide.
Win by 30 to 60, got a touch-up.
I'm a new
What do
age.
you put it down to?
I'm a new age guy, Jesse,
good.
and I've sort of forgotten all about that already because I live in the now, because nothing else matters but what's happening right now in your life. Put your attention there, because if you're like me, you regret everything.
All right, that's great. Now I'm also joined by former analyst Grant Morgan. Welcome, Grant.
Jess, it's fantastic to get an invite to the big game.
Great to have you on show, and just for the viewers out there, we're going to take a look at one of your horses on the previous shows, Horses to Follow Jaeger. We're going to take a look at it. Have you got some more news for us?
Jess, good news last week for racing in Queensland with an announcement of a great new deal between Racing Queensland and Tats. A lot of the industry stakeholders have been waiting for this to happen, and I think it's fantastic news and gives some surety to stakeholders going forward in Queensland. So a great way to start the week.
Great way to start the week. Talk is cheap. We want to see money in the pockets and money in prize money. Any idea when the money's going to go into the prize money?
I think they'll make an announcement in the next 6 weeks about how they're dispersing the funds between the three codes, but I think there's some good signs and some good sounds coming out of Racing Queensland that it's going to go in the right direction. So I think it's all positive, Jess.
That's
Wait
fantastic.
is the right direction 70% to the gallopers, 20 to the trotters and 10% to the greyhounds?
I'm sure it'll be split, divided.
Like your maths, Ben, I hope something like that happens, but it should be based on what each code's contributing back as far as wagering, and I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the Minister for Racing, Steve Dixon, is doing a wonderful job. And I'm joined by our news reporter, Lorena Tillman. Welcome, Lorena.
Thank you very much, Jess. Always something happening in the world of racing. Especially this week, the Australian Racing Board introduced a new retirement from racing rule. The new rule makes it compulsory for owners to report the retirement of their racehorse within 30 days, along with the reason why and the future plans for the horse. Trainers will now not only have to report the death of a horse as well, but also the cause of that death. These rules have been designed to gain a greater insight into the reasons why horses end their careers, as well as what happens to them after racing. Stewards across Australia now have the power to test any trainer, strapper, vet barrier attendant or horse handler for banned substances. Tests include alcohol in excess of 0.05% and a list of recreational drugs. The Australian Racing Board has introduced the rules from a safety viewpoint, and they've been formulated after a 2-year consultation period with industry bodies. The Australian Turf Club is joining the Australian Rugby Union for a 2-week Bledisloe Cup festival. A week before the August 16 Bledisloe Cup game at ANZ Stadium in Sydney between traditional rivals Australia and New Zealand, the ATC will host a special race meeting at Royal Randwick, the Bledisloe Cup Festival Race Day. Any rugby union fans with a ticket to the game will be admitted free to Royal Randwick on the day. One-time Melbourne Cup favourite Puissance de Lune is progressing well from injury and targeting the Group 2 PB Lawrence Stakes at Caulfield in August. Trainer Darren Weir is happy with his progress since suffering a tendon injury during the Cox Plate last year. Racing Victoria is proud to announce that leading Victorian apprentices Harry Coffey and Jai McNeil have been invited to contest International Apprentice Series over the coming months. Harry will head to Macau while Jai will race in South Africa. And if there's one horse Wendy Walter will truly miss when she finally closes her late husband's stable, it's Sense of Occasion. Wendy will saddle up the last of her runners at Rosehill Gardens tomorrow, including Sense of Occasion, who will not only be a sentimental favourite, but a great chance in the Drummond Golf Handicap over 2,400 metres. Sense of Occasion won by an impressive 4 lengths as an odds-on favourite a fortnight ago at Warwick Farm, giving Wendy her first city winner. So Jess, no doubt there'll be plenty of emotion at the races tomorrow.
I'm sure they will. Thank you, Lorena, for that. It was lovely.
Wait a second, Jesse. That very interesting point you made then about it could be a good time to become a coroner for a racehorse, because like if they want to know about the deaths of that's $2,000 or $3,000 for an autopsy, you know.
Yeah, well, it's not bad price, righto. We're going to get into it. We're not going to talk about autopsies here. We're going to preview the Queensland Cup. But firstly, Grant, we took a look at one called Jaeger, a street cry. It's having its first start. It's drawn very awkward. We're going to take a look at its barrier trial, just
What a
for the
trial.
viewers out there. It was, wasn't it?
Oh,
It was
blistering.
deadly. As we mentioned last week, this horse is running tomorrow, and we're going to take a look at Jaeger barrier trialling.
He's an athlete.
We're at the home turn, 350 metres left to run. Jaeger shows the way. Jaeger leading out by a length. Double Wishbone put to pressure. Nearer the inside, Star Hero. Ready Made is starting to let down with a sprint, but Jaeger kicks strongly, and he found 2 lengths, Jaeger. He's bounding away from them. Double Wishbone tries hard. Star Hero fights on as well, but it's all Jaeger, and he pulls away and he wins easily. Jaeger by 4 at the line.
Grant, you picked him out last week at the trials, or the previous 4. Sorry, he was by Jetspur.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah, now he's very impressive.
Yeah, he is. Look, he goes into a $100,000 maiden race on Saturday. It's a fantastic prize money and something I'd like to see more of in Queensland. I think it gives us a great point of difference to New South Wales and Victoria. We can't keep up with them generally, but having a $100,000 maiden's good. This fella's only a 2-year-old. There's another couple of 2-year-olds in the race, but it's late in the season, so he should run well.
But wait a second, you're tattooed to that Lime Hills. What's going on?
And Home Hill. I'm actually
Home Hill.
more tattooed to Home Hill, so I'm actually on 3, hedging my bets there, Ben.
He actually purchased Home Hill. But anyway, Ben, first leg of the quaddie, race 5. What are your selections?
Well, I've gone for number 1, Our Man Tosh, but gee whiz, he's wearing thin with me, Our Man Tosh. I keep backing him. He's got a big weight with 59. Hopefully he might get a bit of a claim there, come down the middle of the track. I put Hard Ticker in for second. This is a Liam Birchley horse. I think his stable's about to strike form. It's going to be big odds. Spurs and Sashes battled on okay last start. And Billy Orcash, I thought he would get a good run sitting about 4th.
Yeah, well, Grant, have you come up with one?
Yeah, I first went for El Mantosh and had more of a look at the speed in the race, Jess, and probably a bit concerned there's not a great deal of tempo in it. I came up with Billy Orcash, who's probably drawn to be running 4th or 5th in running. Gets the 3 kilo claim for Sam Payne. Brian Smith is a very clever trainer. I think he's just about got this horse right. He's good value, so on with Billy Orcash.
All right, there you have it. Now, Lorena, you've also got some news about the on-track tour to Hong Kong?
Absolutely, Jess. Get on board. It's the On Track Racing Tour's Hong Kong International Racing Tour, hosted by our very own Grant Morgan. It's from the 9th to the 15th of December. It includes Longines international races at Sha Tin, Jockey's Challenge at Happy Valley, and staying at the beautiful Marco Polo Hotel in Kowloon. I'd love to go. But don't you go anywhere, because coming up we've got racing highlights. One of my all-time favourite racehorses and former Melbourne Cup winner, Mary Kane.
Welcome back. We're going to take a look at the second and third legs of the quaddie, and first the second leg, race 6. Ben, interesting race. What have you come up with?
In race 6,
Yeah.
well, massive pace in this field, and a lot of them are drawn poorly as well. So I've gone for 2 horses who are going to sort of get back, midfield and worse, and maybe come streaking through at a rate of knots. Latika Rosa, a Matthew Dunn horse. I hope he doesn't tip it. And Metallurgical, who I thought was disappointing last start, went down by about between 2 and 3 lengths. So I thought it would have done better than that. Excelentes. Now, this has got very good sort of fresh form after it's had a run. It's second up after that, and it they're its best runs. So if he can get across from a bad gate and maybe sit 6th too wide and not pull, I think he's a genuine hope. And Seeking More was a really strong, courageous run last start when it did it at both ends. Because it always had a query whether it gets 6 furlongs.
Yeah,
but the way it did last start, I thought it was a really gutsy effort, but it's got a really bad gate. So it's a very, very hard race, I thought.
It's a very hard race. I don't mind number 3, Steel Zip, here at decent odds. If you get 16 to 1, worth something each way. We're going to take a look at its run against River Lad here, where he just sat on the pace. He's the grey horse here, running about 4th on the rail. Here we are taking a look at Steel Zip.
Dances on Stars to the outside, then Philadelphia and Starts Me Up, heading the others in the straight now, 300 metres left to go. Riverland on the inside and Benny's Buttons laying down the law. They're going stride for stride from Steel Zipper, and down the outside Dances on Stars. Here's a good duel, Riverland and Benny's Buttons. Who'll be toughest? It might be Riverland. Riverland on the inside, just in front and won. Riverland beat home.
Yeah, there you saw Steel Zip there. You know, he's going to be a fair chance dropping back from 1400. Loves the track, loves the distance. One at big odds, number 13, Jefferson Park, coming up from Tamworth. Might be just keeping a close eye on that at odds. Now we're going to take a look at race 7 here, the Queensland Cup. The race on the program. And Grant, what have you come up with?
Jess, Astro Avalanche is visiting, was a second last start at Randwick in tearaway leader tactics. Was on a heavy track on that occasion. It's an imported horse. It's going to be a firmer track at Eagle Farm on Saturday over the 3200, but look, its figures are stronger than this field. I think if he repeats that rating.
Will he do a Voro?
Well, he should. There's a little bit of speed in the race. I doubt that they're going to try and take him on. The Inventor. There's another one there that has early speed as well too. But I don't think Ryan Wiggins, who rides the horse, is going to tear away in front. But it's going to be hard to run down. And I thought Pop and Scotch from the Patinack Farm stable. Yep. We thought Patinack Farm were disappearing, but the colours are still going around. But this horse was very impressive at the Gold Coast last start. It was a 2200 metre race, got a long way back. It's only a 3-year-old, ran a nice race in the Derby. The challenge is its first preparation and stretching out to 3,200 metres, but I thought it looked well enough to do that, so he'll probably end up the best horse in the race, ultimately, Pop and Scotch, but Astro Avalanche on top for me, Jess.
I agree. I think the pedigrees are going to sort a lot of these out. Like, a lot of them can't run 2 mile.
But wait a second. I reckon the big question here about Astro Avalanche is, what does it say about Australian racing tempo when this horse led by, I think, close to 200 metres, the jockey was hauled into the steward's room, congratulated by saying, yes, you didn't over-race according to sectional times. So what's it say about Australian racing and jockeying and so forth and rubbish tempos? And what's it say about having an actual pacemaker to actually make it a fair dinkum race?
Well, I just think our horses are generally bred along the lines to get 1,200 to a mile. We don't breed to stay. That's probably the issue, is why these overseas horses are being purchased for these longer distance races, because they are superiorly bred to run over further distance.
200 metres in front.
And it only just got beaten.
And the tempo was said to be, yes, that was fair enough tempo.
He's a genius if it wins, though. If it falls in, he's a
I
genius.
thought it was wonderful. Yeah. I wish he was up here riding it again. Yeah. I do.
I didn't think it was too bad, right? But just on saying that, we're going to take a look at Military Moves' last start run, or the start before here. It was quite an interesting run. He gets back to last, he runs on, he could be one at odds. Here we are, Military Move.
Can't keep up. Rayburn, perfect start. Wall Park and Military Move. Up to the turn, 500 metres left to go. Sky So Blue led Trajet. Lauren Tate, Heartfelt Quest. Here's Zephron sweeping upon them out deep. Pretty Pins looking for a runner. And then Danshai. Precedence working into the clear, but Zephron sprinted strongly and dashed to the front. Went to the lead from Pretty Pins, Precedence. Then Zanesta, that's the race. Zephron, though, at the 100 metres is nicely clear. He leads from Precedence, running on gamely, but running out of time. And Zephron will win the last. Zephron first. Second Precedence, third Pretty Pins.
Yeah, you saw him getting back there. He might be, just keep wanting to be one for the multiples. All right, now we're going to take a look at our second season sire, Americane. And here he is standing at Swettenham Stud, taking a look at Americane.
In a major coup for Swettenham Stud in January of 2013, principal owner Adam Sangster announced the stud had won the right to stand the world champion stayer, Americane, at Swettenham. Sangster had beaten several very powerful breeding operations from the Hunter Valley to secure Americane for his Southern Hemisphere seasons. The deal, brokered by the Victorian owners of Americane, sees the stallion shuttling both hemispheres, with Swettenham in Victoria and the famous Calumet Farm in Kentucky sharing the stallion rights to the world champion staying thoroughbred of 2011. Americane etched his name in Australian racing folklore when he brilliantly won the 150th renewal of the world's greatest staying race, the Emirates Melbourne Cup, in 2010, leaving behind many notable thoroughbreds, including So You Think. Returning in 2011, he was considered desperately unlucky not to have won the great race again when an unlucky fourth to Dunedin. He was crowned champion stayer by world rankings in 2011 and equaled second best American-bred horse in the world in 2011. A powerhouse individual, a powerhouse world-class stayer, Americane is a huge asset to the breeding ranks of Australia. A chance to breed the Melbourne Cup winner has never been available in this part of the world with a stallion of such distinction. Americane's pedigree is so right for Australian mares. He is by the champion US sire in Dynaforma, son of the legendary Roberto. He and his sons work so well with lines like Danehill, Bletchingley, Last Tycoon mares, names so highly ranked through the Australian breeding landscape. His mother is an Arazi mare with 170 stakes winners under the first 5 dams in his pedigree. Americane was a world-class performer across Europe, Australia and Hong Kong. He could win from 1400 metres to 3200 metres, maintaining a very high cruising speed in the greatest of tests. A wonderful addition to Australian breeding, a world champion thoroughbred and part of the all-new Vobis Gold scheme. Americane gives breeders an undeniable chance here in Victoria at Swettenham Stud.
All right, welcome back. It's that time of the show where it's Sports Talk. All right, there's a number of games across the country. Firstly, we're going to take the Bet Easy prices for the AFL game. We're going to preview a few games here. We're going to take a look at the Suns and Collingwood and the Port and Bombers game. But firstly, just looking at the prices there. Collingwood $1.70, Gold Coast $2.15. Geez, that's not a bad price, $2.15. You've got Hawthorn $1.25, North 4, Richmond $1.15 against Brisbane $5.50. Geez, I wouldn't mind taking a bit of that, Ben. Brisbane $5.50. But firstly, the game we're going to preview is the Gold Coast Suns versus the Collingwood Magpies. Yeah, very interesting game here. It's as you'd say, Ben, it's a line in the sand game for both teams.
No, I think the Suns can beat them. I reckon they can. I reckon they got pace.
Think Bet Easy $2.15, good price.
I think go the Suns at $2.15. I think they're a really good bet. I think the Suns have got pace everywhere. They've got 3 big tall forwards. Yeah. You know, with Dixon.
Well, Collingwood's defence line is very shaky.
And
very
Tommy
shaky.
Lynch, that kid, I've got a big rap on. Very fantastic hands.
He's got a strong pair of hands. Yeah.
He has, and you know, and with May up there as well. Day up there as well, and May down back taking care of Cloak, and that Bennell and all these people running through. I can see the swarm of Suns players just running rampant, and I don't rate Collingwood. I think Collingwood are a second-rate team. They're 2 years away. I reckon the Suns can get them.
Well, look, just before you go on about that, the Pies have got 5 players out. They haven't had Fazolo, haven't had Reid, haven't had Maxwell. They haven't had a number of players. Last week they didn't have Marley Williams, who's a key defender.
So they've got a young backline, haven't they?
Yeah, well, they've missed 5 players and all year. There's always something wrong with them. What's wrong with them? Well, there's always something wrong. They're always injured. There's always players injured, and it drives me up the walls. Why can't they all be fit?
2 years away they are.
2 years. All right, the other game we're going to take a look at is Port Adelaide versus the Essendon Bombers. Old Benjamin, Port Adelaide, they were certainties last week, 330 to 60. It was a grudge game. Mate, they got a touch-up. What happened?
But
what happened?
My theory is that they went...
Do you reckon they were believing their own hype?
They went too hard in the Dogs game. They should have cruised that game better. I mean, you can believe... there's so many fine lines in the training of a football side, and the way the Swans went after they after they beat Port, they went real dead. Port came out and just went running, and then they went flat last week. Port wasn't their normal selves last week.
No, they weren't, but you did knock Sydney. You said Sydney might not back up, and then you've eaten your own words. Port weren't able to back up.
Well, Port couldn't back up again. And the Crows were very, very good, I admit that, but Port weren't that good.
But that's all right. Every team, that's maybe the loss they probably had to have.
I didn't like it, though, because it's that Adelaide Oval, which is Port's home ground, not the Crows' home ground.
Anyway, moving on.
No, it's not moving on. I'm moving on.
No, we're moving on.
You're forgetting one.
No, I'm not forgetting nothing.
You're forgetting this.
What?
I'll tell you right now, through my whole life as a kid growing up, if Port Adelaide lost on that Saturday, because it was all Sunday football, I was absolutely inconsolable. would never laugh, would never do anything until Port won again. And Port Adelaide used to win the next week. Port Adelaide do not win 2 games in a row. So don't worry about any theory of this and any theory and that on players. Port Adelaide will win this week against the Bombers because Port Adelaide are Port Adelaide again. We do not lose 2 games in a row. You mark my words.
All right, Grant, I had the spit mask going up there. He was going out of control. Port Adelaide.
Out of control.
Righto, we're going to look at NRL prices, the Bet Easy prices, State of Origin Blues. But firstly, we're going to preview a few games. We're going to bring up the odds there. We're going to take a look at Suns and North Queensland, East Cronulla. Look, Bulldogs 365 against Manly $1.30. Geez, you'd have to have something on them, Grant, at 365. Saints $1.33 against North Queensland $3.45. Bit short for me. Roosters $1.07 over the line. Tigers $3.45 versus Penrith, who are a bit sus. But firstly, we're going to take a look at the St George versus the North Queensland game. All right, interesting game there. Saints $1.33 with Bet Easy. Grant, you used to do statistics for St George Illawarra, I believe.
Many moons ago, Jess. I was actually going to correct you. It's actually St George Illawarra Dragons, which is a very vital point that you missed out. Now under the control of Mary McGregor from the Dapto Canaries. He's doing a fantastic job. Won their last 2 on the trot. I think they're specials, the Dragons at Jubilee Oval. An important match for them. They're celebrating the career of the recently departed Reg Gasnier. They're retiring the number 3 jersey, which he wore with such pride. And I think the pride and the passion at Cogra on Saturday night will be too much for the Cowboys, and they should win pretty easily.
The other game we're going to look at is Eastern Suburbs versus the Cronulla Sharks. All right, after a controversy week with the Cronulla Sharks yet again.
To say the least.
Hey, it's unbelievable. Todd Carden, the peptide recycle scheme, they call it. It's kind of quite humorous. I feel sorry for the lad. He's had the simple thing is alcohol and Todd Carney don't mix. He's just got to cut alcohol from his life for it to improve. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, look, the Cronulla Sharks are in real danger of imploding. The coach has resigned, they've got no sponsor, they're already really at death's door, and it just keeps getting worse for them. And they face the Roosters, and they're actually the team that's beaten the Sharks the most in their history. They're the most defeated club in Cronulla's history. So, gee, how could you even go near the Sharks this Saturday night? They're really, they're at the end of their tether, I'd say, Jess. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. They need a whole new Paul Roos scheme, a no dickhead policy, which the Sydney Swans have. You'd be familiar with that, Ben?
I don't think that rugby league could ever have that policy.
Not too many players left.
It'd be not many left.
Yeah, no, well, Sydney
Lottie,
Swans have been very
successful.
successful.
He'd be left.
But
we love Lottie.
But tell me this, how successful has Sydney Swans been since they, installed that policy? They've been very successful.
Well, they're a well-run club. Yeah, they are.
They are very well run.
I don't like them, but they're well-run.
All right, now, what is your best bet on the program?
I think we'll go for Rick Davies, the Jumbo Prince, in the first race.
We're going to bring up Ben's quaddie now. We're going to take a look at his quaddie. Interesting. How confident are you?
No, I'm not confident at all. I think the races are really, really, really hard this weekend.
And there you have it. Now, Grant, getting on, your best bet. We're going to have a look at your quaddie. We're just going to bring it up now. And your best bet on the program?
Jess, Fixation in the first race, won well last start. Field's fallen away to some extent. Agree Ben's best bet is the one to beat. They're probably the Quinella in the race, but Fixation in the first. Thought it was a tough program. Agree with Ben. I think wide play needed in most of the legs, unfortunately.
Now, Lorena, your best bet and...
This week a value bet, Astro Avalanche in the Queensland Cup, but also another tip, ontrackracingtours.com.au. Jump online for the Hong Kong International Tour. Sha Tin, Happy Valley, Yum Cha, Dim Sum, shopping, maybe a massage, Ben.
Shameless.
But mixing it with all the best in the racing world, travelling in style, so go to ontrackracingtours.com.au. Thanks, Jess.
Well, hopefully you'll be joining me on the tour.
She's doing her best.
And try.
Trump that, Ben.
I'll be trumping that. Come to the car park later on.
All right, we're going to take a look at my best bet. Bring it up. My best bet is from the Dave Kelly stable. High Sun looks to be very hard to beat. The 1800. Ricky Jamison claiming the 3. I like High Sun. I think it's a great bet. As well, my best race 3, Box Cornella, 9, 11, 12 and 13, Jaeger, Lime Hills, your horse, Home Hill, and one from the Trevor Bailey stable, Stricker. Well, that's all we have for you tonight on Blinkers Off. Thanks for joining us, and join us next week. Same place, same time. Bye for now.